And welcome back. We are now at part 4 of this week's New Comics, bitches! So, let's move on. There was... there were 3 books, again this week, all kind of vying for the top spot. But one book above all ultimately did make the cut. So let's talk about I guess who came in third, and that is Demon Knights #2. Now, a lot of people are kind of referring to this as like kind of the medieval Justice League, so to speak. Paul Cornell, again, I've loved I loved his work on Captain Britain and MI13 and on Wisdom. These are just, it's just really well done comic work. I wasn't too huge of a fan of his run on Action Comics, but whatever. But, I love watching, I love this comic. It's terrific. Because it's everything that it should be when you're dealing with these types of characters. We're getting a little bit more expansion on some of these characters, introducing some more characters. I think the thing about this that turns me on the most, as far as this book is concerned, is that it's not really Secret Six-y, but I kind of feel a little bit of that vibe coming here. So, I mean, and that's a good thing, believe me. Because, I mean, we've had some of the really bad stuff, trying to be Secret Six, like Suicide Squad, or Red Hood and the Outlaws, that seems to try to get that vibe, and it's just bad. It's just cheap and dumb. God, I hated Suicide Squad. But this is, you got all of these characters. Some of them are good. Some of them are not so good. I love Etrigan in just about everything, and to see him, kind of this early in his career, if you want to put it that way, Madame Xanadu, Shining Knight, just, and Vandal Savage, I guess, is the one that gives me, honestly, the other than Etrigan, gives me like the biggest vibe of Secret Six of all of these characters. Just when he refers to, when he sees the dragons come in, and he doesn't think about, okay, these guys are dangerous. These guys are fucking tasty. I want to eat one. And that's all Vandal Savage is really looking at. And, I mean, just, his view of, kind of the politicking of the, eras that have come before, and, this horsewoman that seems to, have come out of nowhere, and, Vandal's line about the Visigoths, Ostrogoths, and any other sorts of Goths. Always think they're brave because they conquered Rome. I mean, that's the kind of smarts that a book like this deserves, and that it gets, and by God, it's a wonderful book. This is, it's definitely one of my favorites of the New 52. Diogenes Neves, how do you pronounce the last name? Wow, what a great artist. It's just terrific stuff. I mean, this is, again, it's a perfect fusion of writing and art, and I love that. I love it to death. Okay. This, like I said, almost made the cut for Book of the Week, but not quite. So we'll talk about this one first, and that is Morning Glories #13. Again, Spencer, Joe Eisma. I hope I'm getting your name right there, sir. But again, a perfect marriage of writing and art. It's a great, this is a great issue. Again, another great issue of Morning Glories. This has been a fantastic book from the word go. you know, yes, it is. If you want to put a name on it, it is kind of a fill-in for Lost fans. I mean, so much so that, you know, Damon Lindelof, one of the execs on Lost, actually, you know, wrote the foreword to the second Morning Glories trade, I believe, either the second or the upcoming one. I can't remember. But it really is kind of filling the hole that Lost fans feel that they've lost, but also by giving us these, you know, it's not ripping off Lost by any stretch of the imagination. It's just taking kind of a, you know, it's taking a form of storytelling that is somewhat unusual for any medium, really. And applying it to this world of these teenagers in this school. You know, so basically, you know, what we have here, it kicks off, we're seeing a little bit of Casey's past with, you know, her parents, obviously when she's just a child, and then, you know, we fast forward and Casey puts Hunter in the friend zone. That's a bummer for him. But also turns out to be a bummer for her because the whole kind of escape plan that Ms. Hodge, the new character that was introduced in issue 12, has formulated, that her escape plan requires Jade, Casey, and Hunter, but while they're doing this this exercise called Wood Run, basically they, you know, they don't get Hunter, they get Ike. And of course, Ike is the world's biggest douchebag. And he's a ridiculously fun character to read. The fact when someone is just, you know, flat out this much of an asshole. I mean, there's pleasure in that. There's pleasure to be derived from knowing that, you know, that's, you know, the fall will come for this character, or they're going to turn a corner as far as their character development is concerned, and that's where I have complete faith in Nick Spencer. Joe Eisma does, you know, a great job of illustrating this issue. Whoa, and you know that escape plan. Hello, time stream. I mean, this book is going in so many amazing different places, you know, for all these different characters. You know, it's nice to have a really solid, you know, because there doesn't seem, you know, Casey does honestly seem to be the main character, but it doesn't always seem that way. It doesn't, you know, and that's one of the great things about Lost is that, you know, Jack Shephard always seemed to be the main character, but, you know, each character definitely got their own due. And that's what's really entertaining about this, and what actually works the best about both Lost and the series is that each character is getting their own showcase to show who they are, and to be something other than just a supporting character. You know, where any of these characters could almost easily take the main character spot, and that's what's so cool about Morning Glories as a comic, and just this issue in and of itself is just wonderful. You know, Nick, you know, again, you're one of the young Turks out there, and please keep this up. You know, because you know, right now, you know, you've got the Midas touch, along with the next gentleman that I'm going to talk about, which comes to my book of the week, and that is American Vampire: Survival of the Fittest, number 5. This is a brilliant ending to a brilliant miniseries. You know, following Cash and Felicia, you know, into, you know, the days before World War II breaks out. You know, as they're trying to, you know, help this Nazi scientist escape. Ultimately, that plan kind of goes pear-shaped, but they do get something else instead. They do get something of a cure for vampirism. And since Felicia is already afflicted, and Cash's son is afflicted similarly. I'm not going to spoil anything, because it's just too good of a book to spoil the ending or spoil what happens to anybody. Snyder has consistently, I mean, I didn't believe in this book when I first got it. I remember somebody, and I don't know who you are, but thank you, I think on YouTube in the Shadow Gallery comments, which I hope you all do, said that, because I was fawning about Scott Snyder's work on Detective, said, have you checked out American Vampire? And I said, no, maybe I should. And I did, and thank God that I did, because Scott Snyder is killing it with, again, everything that he's done, everything that he's been involved in. The Project Superman, Flashpoint, tie-in was a lot better than it deserved to be. I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that his name was on it. But this, what's so great about just this particular issue is because it's not really that different from Snyder's other work. It has a great deal of intelligence, wit, excitement, depth, and ultimately, with this issue especially, a lot of heart. I was very moved by this final issue of this miniseries, and just really, I mean, Amvam has just been a tremendous comic, and this particular miniseries, Sean Murphy on art, wow. I mean, again, which is take nothing away from Raphael Albuquerque. I mean, he's also great. Again, I mean, it's just, I could not have wanted this to be, I could not have thought of this being any less than it was, and that what this is gold. This was a great miniseries, a great addendum to, this could have easily been an arc that existed within the actual comic itself, as far as the comic run, but no. Snyder said, you know what, I have another story to tell, and I have, but I still have my American Vampire story to tell here, but I want them to go on. I want this out now, because this is good stuff. I don't want this to run and just, I have too many stories to tell, and I tell them with as much smarts and as much depth in every issue. So why not just release them both at the same time? Let me get this arc out there, let me get this arc out there. And that's what he did. That's what DC ran with. That's what Vertigo gave us. And it's just a tremendous, tremendous issue. A great finale. And ultimately tops this week's releases. So, it was kind of hard to pick between that, Morning Glories, and Demon Knights. But still, commendable work to everybody. Again, for those comic creators out there, thank you all. Thank you as always for everything you do. I'm working on my own comic book right now, which is starting to come together a lot faster than I ever thought it would, and perhaps even better than I thought it would. So who knows? Maybe you'll be out there one day talking about my work. I can only dream right now, but I will keep hammering away at it, and I'm not going to say a fucking word to anybody about it until I have something completed. So until then, this is James Donnelly of the Shadow Gallery, welcoming you to comment, welcoming you to thumb it up, thumb it down, welcoming you to subscribe, and always giving you my love as you watch. Thanks for coming back, guys, and thanks for being there. Shadow Gallery, James Donnelly signing off. Good night.